All right, everyone. So get NARUMI in the Santa outfit. We have the preview for him. This came out earlier today. I've been busy, but I'm happy to be able to jump to it now. I'll try to get to something else sooner as opposed to like forever later. But he's kind of interesting because firstly, he looks really cool. And secondly, he's ice. He's ice type. That's not really surprising given that he's a Santa theme. But they did take off shot, so he's slash and ice. That's actually kind of interesting. Like that's a really interesting pairing. Does he not have shot in here anywhere? I saw him shooting. Does he shoot ice bullets that? But wait, he should. This is a case of like a character needing a triple because he clearly shoots in there somewhere. So I guess anyway, gonna be interesting though. Does this like push Reno down my list a little bit? It's certainly possible. See, he's shooting ice. They must not be bullets. They must be ice, like literally ice. Anyway, on Reno, it's possible. He's really good, but one of the reasons he's held high on my tier list is because it's really only him and Kota, and so basically by extension, it's mostly him. But they refuse to rerun Reno, and most people don't have him because they started after Steam. And so with that being the case, if you need an ice type character, NARUMI is going to be the go-to unless they decide to rerun Reno. You know what? I wouldn't be surprised if they run Reno literally right now when this pops up. I would not be surprised. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and take a look at this. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Make sure that thumbs up and subscribe. Hype the video if you get that option. I appreciate it on mobile. Also, if you want to get started with Raid Shadow Legends, side thing I'm doing, it is very helpful to me if you do get started, ideally on PC because there's no mix-ups on that. But link down below in the description. Participate in the best time to start with the Alien vs. Predator collaboration. All right. So check out the skill video showcase. He is an ice slasher attacker who grants himself the hyped status every time he uses a combat or ultimate skill, and that stacks 6 times. As he accumulates hyped, his attack and crit damage progressively increase. So there's a new set coming out. I'm curious about that, but attack and crit damage screams probably Lizard to me. However, I've also still been saying on characters that even have this that just the damage cap is so high to still just go fungal. I'm curious about how he looks with like crit rate specifically though. We'll see. Okay, let's pause this. Slash and ice, normal attack, single target. Okay, but the combat skill does have blast attack, ice blast attack in there. Automatically, really strong because Reno has that, but only on ultimate. And so automatically off the rip, really powerful to have that on combat. Deals slash and ice after attacking deals shot additional damage. I'm just like, this is very clearly a case where a character needed 3, but they just didn't want to do it yet. Anyway. Applies a combat skill damage multiplier buff to this unit, advances his unit's next action order, and gives himself 2 SP. So another character that's doing SP bonuses. Okay. So it's for himself. Hikari was doing it too, but it was kind of jank on Hikari. But she's kind of doing it too, if I'm remembering correctly anyway. Kafka is also able to gift SP to a specific character. And Reno even, again. But this is like better than Reno's, just flat out. But Reno has other stuff like the freeze and rewind, blah, blah, blah. So, but this is interesting. Also, this is not a damage dealing ultimate. Huh. He's an attack type character. This is not a damage dealer. This is just pure enhancing. Applies a combat skill damage multiplier buff and advances his order. By how much? Because the ultimate not doing damage on the character is a very big deal. All right. After activating combat skill or ultimate, applies hyped, increases units attack and crit damage, and then the follow-up is another ice attack as well. He's got ice everywhere, dude. That's it's not uncommon or not surprising, but it's really strong. Okay. Because, for example, Kota's got it on just the ultimate. So that matters a lot. Okay, we're going to watch the animations after, but I want to see maxed out, consume 2 SP, slash and ice damage equal to 398% of this unit's attacked with a single kaiju. Pretty standard otherwise. Okay, here's the ultimate here. Applies combat skill damage multiplier up. 42.6% for 2 turns to this unit. A 40% combat damage boost, huh? Okay. Advances okay, there it is. I was like, by how much? Because this needs to do a lot to be worth it. 100% is actually crazy. So he instantly takes a back-to-back turn. We haven't seen that since Transforming Kafka. Maybe. I guess technically Hikari kind of counts, but not really, because she's like doing something different. But this is basically Transforming Kafka, where he takes a turn to transform. He's not transforming, but he's doing a buff. And then he gets a second turn right after that. And he gets 2 SP off that too. So that's actually really strong. But the combat, what was the modifier on this? What was the modifier on that combat? Also, we skipped something in there. 398, huh? Okay. Because the combat's going to need to do a lot of carrying damage-wise, it looks like. So I'm interested in that. We'll see. Oh, no, they just flipped the page. Okay. There was a second effect to this that we missed. 66 to the adjacent, but 398 to the primary. Holy crap. So, wait a minute. Hold on. This is actually crazy. He's got a single target multiplier on that. 398 is really high, considering that the adjacents are taking 66. What the hell? I have to load up the game on my phone to see what like a standard multiplier is. I feel like I'm like this seems like extremely high. I'm gonna do that on the side. After attacking, deals additional damage equal to 54% of this unit's attack to the targets. The primary target, I don't really know, because this again is a blast attack, so we'll see. But yeah, so that initial hit's gonna hit extremely hard. That's not uncommon. They always hit harder. But to my point, they're normally just the double of the adjacent. So this is 66. That means it should be, what, 122? But it's at freaking 400. So that's a lot. So I'm loading up the game right now. Who's a good blast attacker? In fact, I'll just pull up NARUMI. Wait, that's an insane modifier. What the hell is 400%? So I don't have it up right now to show you, but the limited NARUMI's combat skill is doing 182. That's an ultimate attack modifier. Oh, that's interesting. That's real. I'm like, dude, 400 seems extremely high. Like, what? So he's got an ultimate attack modifier on his combat skill. The blast attack part of it's kind of whatever. It's going to be good for plate breaking. He's not really going to do any damage to them. He'll do standard blast attack damage, basically. But the single target the single character he targets is going to get obliterated. Oh, man. If his attack stat is even decent, this is going to hit like a truck. And it's going to be very reminiscent of Hoshina. You know, I've been saving my tier list, but I've got to say, they've been trying to publish characters that actually really, really try to come close to Hoshina in damage. Like Hikari. Like, Hikari's damage cap is so freaking high. In fact, she would just flat out be a much better character than him if she could actually accumulate on those skills, but she can't when she's accelerated. But, like, she does so much damage on those hits anyway. She's trying really hard. And NARUMI being able to do this on the combat skill is very reminiscent of Hoshina, because Hoshina does the exact same thing on his resonated combat skill, where that's basically really the ultimate. However, Hoshina's ultimate still does damage as well, so I'm curious about what that looks like. Yeah, so looking at Hoshina's resonated combat skill, this attacks slash damage dealt goes up by 20%, and deals slash damage equal to 365% to a single kaiju. So I think this actually does more aggregate damage, because it's got higher modifiers. And you'll have the ultimate amp. Hoshina's got some other amps in there. I'm not going to compare. I got to look at Hoshina more. But this is going to be at least on the same level, if the attack stat's even remotely similar. Hoshina's attack stat at level 100, I'm looking at my phone so you guys don't see it, was 1600 with his... so he's at 26 with uniparts and weapon. So that's a really high attack stat. Like, most characters don't really come close to 2650, which is where Hoshina is. There's only a few characters I think that even have more than that. For context, Hikari is at 20 245. So that's really, really high. So like, yeah, this really threw me off, but that's interesting. It makes a lot of sense why it's that strong. And it's going to hit really, really hard. And again, it being on the combat skill, and then him getting 2 SP back is ridiculous. Getting 2 SP is ridiculous no matter what. It's especially ridiculous when he has a freaking nuke in his combat skill. Wow. Okay. That's interesting, man. Okay. So we need to move on. And then again, if he's... Oh, that's right. If he's fully stacked too, he's going to hit so hard with the attack and crit damage bonuses. Oh my god, this guy's going to hit like a truck. What is bro just dancing? What the... Bro is breakdancing. What was the point of that? He's just flipping around and stuff. What is the point? He's putting on a show for the kids is what it is, huh? Because otherwise, what the hell is the point of all this? He ain't doing a damn thing. But yeah, he got the SP. His action order shot up. That's really interesting. Then he takes another turn there, yeah. Passive skill, Ace in the Hole. After activating a combat or ultimate, applies the stack of Hyped at to a maximum of 6 stacks. Hyped, this unit's attack goes up and crit damage goes. Each stack is 6% and the crit is 8%? Each stack? There's no way it's each stack, is it? Dude, he's gonna hit so hard. He is going to hit I'm gonna be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if he's the #1 damage dealer after this. Like he's got so much in there. Alright, the dupes. After activating a combat skill, gets crit rate. Okay, so see, that's what I mean. I've said this before in my videos, and the other NARUMIs are doing the same thing. A lot of the damage dealers, they need critical rate, and so they put critical rate in their duplicates. He's got critical rate here. It's just in the first dupe. It stacks up to 15%, doesn't fall off, so that's good. It's not for any number of turns. You do have to use 3 combat skills, which isn't the hardest thing to do. But I want to see the new set, but I still think for the most consistency, he's going to want to be in Lizard. And then there's defense penetration on. They love slapping defense pen on. I've always been opposed to it, but they love it. Just because it doesn't mesh with crit damage well. It's supposed to peak higher, but in my testing, it never did. Maybe I can go back and retest that, but it didn't actually peak higher because crit damage was more variable. Like, I could get more crit damage, and it would just exceed penetration's output. And so I don't like when characters can do it. Anyway, when HP remaining is 50% or more, the unit's ult charge goes up with that 4th dupe. See, that was going to be one thing I was going to say. His ult charge, he restores 90 with that. So, like, you need to put, like, speed boots on him. His speed stat, things like that are going to be really relevant, but not any more relevant than they are on any other character. But I was really curious about, like, that specifically, because if he's able to get ults quicker, that could be huge. There is a set for that, but they purposely didn't give it an attack increase. Otherwise, I would use that. What is it? Ant? Is Ant, right? Or Spider? One of the two. I think it's Ant. I would definitely, I said Spant, by the way. I would definitely run that, but I'm not putting it on for HP. If without an HP scaler, I'm not putting that on most characters. Hyped stacks go up to 10. Will apply 2 after using a combat skill or ultimate. So that's the only problem with Hyped. And you know what? I'm not as surprised it's 6%. Because Hyped will only proc when using these 2 skills. So it's kind of hard. Not really. Content's been kind of long in general. They've put out a lot of the content that's come out recently has been long ass content, dude. Like, it's genuinely been long fights. So maybe not. It's not that bad. You're going to get that 10 stacks in the long fights. But wow. Really impressive damage dealer. And here are the additional passives. What do we have here? At the start of the battle, this unit's ultimate gauge goes up by 60. Ding, 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 needed that. After destroying a plate, gets a 24% crit damage buff for 1 turn to this unit. Okay. After activating a combat skill, applies effect resistance to this unit. Why the frick do you need effect resistance? That's like the most useless stat in the game. Maybe there's one that's more useless. And the only reason why I say that is because it's extremely rare for an enemy to have poisons or whatever. Like, they can freeze you every now and again. I'm guessing the event that's going to coincide with his release will have enemies that have freeze. But like, or something. But that's extremely rare. You may get burned. You can get a whole bunch of things. Everything you can do to them, they can do to you. It's just rare. I'd much rather have seen like something else there. Maybe I would rather have seen crit rate there, but they're not going to put that there. But okay, what about another damage dealt buff? Because that's another thing. He doesn't have a lot of damage dealt buffs. He's got a lot of crit damage buffs. Once again, Chester just gets better and better and better, particularly Chester with that first dupe, by the way. He's just gonna... Chester is just gonna... And he does have a damage dealt buff, technically. It's just on the combat skill. However, that's... You know what? I'm not mad at that. That's the best thing you can do, because the ultimate's gonna be whatever you want to never use the ultimate... Or the normal attack. It's gonna be whatever. You're never gonna want to use it. So he does have a 42% one. So if I go through other characters, that's probably really good. So I guess they kind of didn't really have anything else they could put here, except for increasing like action order or something at the start of the turn. But anyway, yeah, as we get deeper, Chester just is like ridiculously valuable. No matter the outcome, he's just an insane character. That dude is never falling out of S, it feels like, until a better Chester comes out. And then when a better Chester comes out, he's going to be like still the second best supporter in the game. So he still would use him. Anyway. So I actually, I'm curious if NARUMI is limited. I'm curious because he is Santa. Typically seasonal stuff is limited in games, and they restrict it. They vault it until the next time the season corresponding comes around. By the way, start saving for the swimsuit stuff now. Oh my god. Who's got the biggest boobs in Kaiju No? Whoever they are, they need to get a swimsuit. In all seriousness, yeah, typically they vault these characters. So I'm curious about that, because if he's a limited character that's like actually limited, not just limited like the last NARUMI, which by the way, there's no way he could be limited. If I'm saying like if he's limited, I'm not saying like HIkari. There's no way he could be limited like HIkari, because HIkari literally just came out. They can't do back-to-back limiteds like that. However, it will be almost the same thing, unfortunately, if he is vaulted. So I'm hoping he's just a regular character that's going to go in the pool, like Isao, for example, is going to do whenever this pops up, like Mina with Bako did. Like, just I'm hoping he's a regular character that goes in the freaking pool, like Hoshina number 10. Like, just a regular character. Everything else seems bad to me. If we didn't get HIkari, then I could maybe understand him being just a regular limited, right? But I brought that all up to say that, I had a comment that was like, Mans tells us now it's time to only start summoning on limited gachas. And so they said, watch this. And I'm like, damn. Now after reading the kit, I'm really like, damn. Because I actually think he may be one of the best characters in the game. And it would suck to not summon on one of the best characters in the game. Yeah, I gotta test him, of course, but he seems like he's gonna be at least in contention for top 1, I think, period. And it's fitting that it's NARUMI, because he's gonna compete with Hoshina for that slot. Unless you argue like Chester's better, which you could. I could argue Chester's the best character in the game. But anyway, he's going to compete with him at least as the number 1 damage dealer. So that's pretty cool. So I'm curious about that, but we won't have to wait very long to find out. Let me know what you guys think about all that stuff. Hopefully you enjoyed. Make sure you do subscribe. Like I said, check out the Alien vs. Predator collaboration. especially if you do it on PC. I do get kickback for that, and I appreciate it. And also, I play the game a lot. Like, I'm not just BSing, I'm not just promoting something. I play it a lot. You see all the videos, I do content. So check it out. All right, guys, I'll see you in the next one.